Hi, let's jump right into it, shall we? We're going to kick things off by discussing the role of human activities, particularly industrialization and urbanization, in the increase of greenhouse gas emissions. So here's the deal. The Earth has always had a natural greenhouse effect, which is crucial for supporting life. This effect is due to gases in the atmosphere, like water vapor, carbon dioxide, and methane, that trap heat from the sun and keep our planet warm enough to sustain life. However, since the Industrial Revolution, humans have significantly accelerated the production of these greenhouse gases. This has tipped the balance, leading to an enhanced greenhouse effect and, ultimately, climate change. Now let's talk about industrialization. Over the past few centuries, we have seen an enormous increase in industrial activities. This includes everything from manufacturing goods, mining, and constructing buildings to transportation. All these activities rely heavily on burning fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, and natural gas, which release large amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And then there's urbanization. As more and more people move into cities, we're clearing vast amounts of land for housing, businesses. This not only leads to a loss of forests, which are crucial for absorbing carbon dioxide, but also increases energy consumption, further contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. Moreover, waste production in cities is another major issue. Methane, a potent greenhouse gas, is released when organic waste decomposes in landfills. So you see our modern lifestyle, driven by industrialization and urbanization, is significantly contributing to the increase in greenhouse gas emissions. It's a bit of a vicious cycle, really. But remember, understanding the problem is the first step towards finding a solution. And on that note, we'll move on to our next topic. Okay, let's dive into the next topic. Now, when we talk about deforestation, we're essentially discussing the large-scale removal of trees and forests, usually to clear land for agricultural practices or urban development. And this, my friends, has a significant impact on climate change, particularly by contributing to increased carbon dioxide levels. So, how does this work, you may ask? Well, to put it simply, trees are like the lungs of our planet. They absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis, converting it into oxygen and storing carbon in their trunks, branches, leaves, and roots. So, when we cut down trees and burn or let them rot, that stored carbon is released back into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. And as we discussed earlier, carbon dioxide is a potent greenhouse gas that traps heat and contributes to global warming. But the problem doesn't stop there. Deforestation also means we're losing the very tools, the trees, that can absorb future carbon dioxide emissions. And it's not just about carbon dioxide. When forests are cleared by burning, as is often the case in tropical regions, other harmful greenhouse gases, like methane and nitrous oxide, are also released. Beyond the immediate impact on carbon levels, deforestation has other climate-related consequences. For instance, forests play a crucial role in regulating rainfall. Without them, regions can become subject to periods of flood and drought, disrupting ecosystems and human livelihoods. In a nutshell, the act of deforestation is like a double whammy for our climate. We're adding more carbon dioxide to the atmosphere and simultaneously removing the natural carbon sinks that could help to balance things out. It's clear we need to rethink our relationship with trees if we're serious about tackling climate change. But don't lose hope just yet. We have a couple more topics to cover that might shine a light on potential solutions. Let's move on to our next topic, the environmental consequences of burning fossil fuels and its direct relation to global warming. Fossil fuels, think coal, oil, and natural gas, have powered our modern world for centuries. They fueled our cars, heated our homes, and been at the heart of our industries. But this energy hasn't come without a cost. When we burn fossil fuels, we release carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat from the sun, causing the Earth's average temperature to rise, a phenomenon we know as global warming. But it's not just about getting a bit warmer. The impacts of global warming are far-reaching and potentially devastating.
Let's break it down a bit.
Firstly, there's the impact on weather patterns. Rising temperatures disrupt normal weather patterns, leading to more extreme and unpredictable weather. Think stronger storms, more frequent heat waves, and longer, more intense droughts. Secondly, global warming causes polar ice to melt, leading to rising sea levels. This is bad news for coastal communities, which are at risk of flooding, or worse, disappearing entirely. Thirdly, the increased temperature impacts biodiversity. It changes the habitats of many species, potentially leading to a dramatic loss in biodiversity. This can disrupt ecosystems and even lead to species extinction. And then there's ocean acidification. When we burn fossil fuels, not only do we release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but a portion of this CO2 also ends up in the oceans. This makes the water more acidic, disrupting marine life, particularly shell-building animals and coral reefs. The thing is, the impacts of burning fossil fuels extend beyond just environmental consequences. They also have social and health implications. Air pollution from burning fossil fuels can lead to respiratory issues, heart disease, and premature death. So it's clear that our reliance on fossil fuels has come at a high price. It's a price that's being paid by our planet and by us, its inhabitants. We need to understand this if we're to appreciate the urgency of finding cleaner, more sustainable energy sources, which coincidentally is one of our next topics. All right. Moving forward, we're shifting our focus to the effects of climate change on the planet, including increased temperature, melting ice caps, and sea level rise. Firstly, let's talk about the elephant in the room, increased temperatures. Due to the rise in greenhouse gases, the Earth's average temperature has increased significantly over the past century. This might not sound like a big deal, but even a few degrees can have massive implications. These warmer conditions can lead to more intense and frequent heat waves, which can have devastating effects on human health and agriculture. Next up, we've got melting ice caps. You see, the polar ice caps are like the Earth's air conditioners. They reflect sunlight back into space, helping to cool the planet. But as temperatures rise, these ice caps start to melt, causing a twofold problem. First, as the ice melts, it adds more water to the oceans, contributing to sea level rise. Second, as the white ice disappears, it's replaced by darker land, or ocean, which absorbs more sunlight and furthers the warming effect. It's a vicious cycle. And yes, that brings us to sea level rise. As mentioned, melting ice caps contribute to this, but so does the simple fact that water expands as it warms. Rising sea levels pose a real threat to coastal communities and can lead to more devastating storm surges. But the impacts of climate change aren't just physical. They also have social implications. For instance, changes in temperature and rainfall patterns can affect agriculture, potentially leading to food shortages. Similarly, extreme weather events and sea level rise can displace people, leading to climate refugees. So it's clear that climate change isn't some distant threat. Its effects are here, and they're palpable. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are things we can do to mitigate these effects, and that's exactly what we'll be discussing in our next section. Now, on to our final topic, sustainable practices and alternative energy sources that can help mitigate the effects of climate change. First, let's talk about sustainable practices. At its core, sustainability is about meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. There are many ways we can incorporate sustainability in our daily lives. This can range from reducing, reusing, and recycling our waste to making more conscious choices about what we consume. For example, we can choose to eat less meat and more plant-based foods, as livestock farming is a major contributor of greenhouse gases. We can also choose to buy products that are locally sourced and produced, as this reduces the carbon footprint associated with transporting goods long distances. Now let's talk about alternative energy sources. And historically, we've relied heavily on fossil fuels for our energy needs. But as we've discussed, this has led to a significant increase in greenhouse gas emissions. Thankfully, we have alternatives. Renewable energy sources like wind, solar, and hydroelectric power can provide us with the energy we need without the same level of greenhouse gas emissions. Solar panels, for instance, convert sunlight directly into electricity. Wind turbines, on the other hand, harness the wind's kinetic energy to generate power. And hydroelectric power systems use the flow of water to produce electricity. The great thing about these energy sources is that they're renewable, meaning they're not going to run out. Plus, they emit far less greenhouse gases compared to fossil fuels. So, shifting towards these energy sources can help us mitigate the effects of climate change. But of course, transitioning to a more sustainable lifestyle and renewable energy sources isn't going to be easy. It requires changes at every level, from individual actions to government policies. But remember, every little bit helps. Each one of us can play a part in this, and together we can make a difference. After all, the future of our planet depends on it. Let's not take it for granted.